Will Trevor Story stay healthy in 2025? Will Lucas Giolito be a pitcher the team can rely on? All of that and more on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And it's completely free, so you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every day. And I include some cool guests on the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that as well. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Friday. Welcome to the end of the week and welcome to the show as we approach 1 week closer to the start of spring training. And the question that I've been seeing going around surrounding the Boston Red Sox over this last week or so is, are they done? Are they done making moves to add to the team for 2025? My answer is no. I think they know that they still have some holes that need to be filled. And one of them that's glaring is a right-handed bat, and the other one that's glaring is another high-leverage reliever. And I was kind of hoping that they would acquire a more reliable catcher because their catching situation right now is still a little bit dicey. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that on today's show. But today's show is all about hot takes. Gabby's hot takes for the 2025 Red Sox season. Now, if you look at the roster as it stands right now, you could make the argument that they are a much better team than last year. Now, I personally am not going to use the word much better because I don't think that's true, but I do think they are objectively a better baseball team. They've improved the starting rotation. They've added some lefties to the bullpen to hopefully create a little more versatility there. And there's hopefully going to be the breakout of some stars, and we're going to see some of the young players continue to develop. And most of all, they're going to be healthy, hopefully. They had so many injuries during the 2024 season, particularly to Tristan Casas and Trevor Story, that harmed the Red Sox infield a lot. So I'm hoping that those guys can be healthy going into this upcoming season and that the Red Sox can just have a year that they can be proud of, because Red Sox fans are now at the point to where we are very frustrated. We want to watch a baseball team that is fun, that wins games and isn't all over the place and up and down and having a train wreck every other game. We want to see a team that will fight for a playoff spot. And to me, if you look at the roster as stands right now, if the Red Sox make no more moves, they are a playoff team. They are a wild card team, but definitely not good enough to win their division right now. And I also don't see them making a super deep playoff run unless they add a couple more pieces to shape out the roster. Why? Because I did do a deep dive into the Red Sox last championship roster on yesterday's show, which was back in 2018. And that team was remarkable. They won literally all the time, and they had a great mix of players, veterans and young talent that they developed in their own system. And all of those guys combined helped them win a World Series. Now, I'm not saying the Red Sox should not be letting their young guys develop. 100%, I think they should, for sure. But it gets to the point where you want to continue to let your young guys prosper, but you also need to be adding veteran talent to couple with your young prospects in your system so that collectively you have a mixed group of players and you have those veterans who have the experience and know what it's like to win to be able to guide some of the young guys. So that to me is what the Red Sox are still lacking, is that veteran leadership presence that they just don't have a lot of right now. And yes, you could make the argument that Trevor Story is that guy, for sure, good leader to have in the Red Sox clubhouse, and he does his Trevor Story infield camp during the offseason. So that's something that we like to see too is him working with some of the younger players to help them in their skills and development. But if you take the Red Sox as a whole right now, you just don't have a lot of guys who can be those veteran leaders. And with Trevor Story having been injured in a lot of his time in Boston so far, it's just been difficult for us to really see what kind of impact he can make on the younger guys. So that leads me to my first hot take for the 2025 season, which is the Red Sox will not make a deep playoff run with this current roster as stands because they just don't have enough veteran leadership. They don't have the guys out there who are going to be able to alleviate some of the pressure on the younger players and help them to learn what it's like to be in the spotlight. This is a young team right now. And again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with developing your young talent, but you need to have the veteran pieces around it. And part of what goes with that is having guys like Trevor Story healthy. And to me, Trevor Story is going to have a strong season in 2025. I've talked about this on the show before, why I feel like he's primed for a big season. He's healthy now. He's ready to go. He gets a full off season with the Red Sox, which is something he hasn't had the opportunity to really have in his time here. And obviously injuries are part of the game, but he is determined to go out there and prove to Red Sox Nation that he is worth the money that the Red Sox gave him. And he doesn't want to let people down this year. And he was so upset with himself and the idea of not being able to play for most of the season in 2024. I don't see him necessarily being an all-star at the plate, but he is going to make a positive difference offensively for this Red Sox team. And as they navigate through their schedule, I think we're going to see just how important he is to a Red Sox lineup that really needs some value in the right-handed hitting department. And I think Trevor Story is somebody who's going to bring that to the Red Sox in 2025. He's going to be somebody who's going to have a big season, and I am looking forward to seeing it. And not only is he going to have a big season on the field, and this isn't even to mention his defense. We already know his defense goes without saying, and a healthy, strong Trevor Story makes the Red Sox defense better any day. I mean, more at the plate, he's going to have a big season, and we're going to see some vastly improved offensive numbers from him from what we have seen in the past, especially because towards the end of the season, when he returned in 2024, he was starting to hit well and was seemingly finding his stride at the plate. So I'm excited to see him in 2025 and what he can do. So that's a big thing for me is Trevor Story will have a big season. And why does that feel like a hot take? Because we have yet to see that offensive productivity for Trevor Story. And it's easy for people to not feel confident in Story's ability to go out there and take care of business on offense. But I truly believe this is going to be a big season for him. And he's going to be one of the biggest offensive contributors for the team. And not only that, but I don't even just think about the on-field stuff for Trevor Story when I think about him having a big year. I also feel like he could end up turning into the Justin Turner in the clubhouse in 2025, the guy who every single young player looked up to, that they said, okay, this guy has been around for a while. He could serve as a good mentor to me, and he can give me tips and help me through the process and struggle of making it in Major League Baseball. Because Justin Turner, when he was with this Red Sox team, he was called by a lot of people the best leader that the Red Sox have had in the clubhouse ever. And that's really telling if you think about the number of players who have passed through the Boston Red Sox organization. So for me, Trevor Story could fill those shoes because the Red Sox honestly don't really have that guy right now in the clubhouse. And I was really excited when they got Justin Turner for that reason, because I knew he was going to be a guy who could transform the clubhouse in terms of being that veteran leadership presence that a lot of the young guys needed. And because Story was injured and was missing a lot of the season and didn't get to play as much as he wanted to, he didn't get the chance to really put those leadership skills on full display. But to me, I truly believe that him being healthy in 2025 will directly coincide with him putting up even bigger offensive numbers. And it'll also coincide with him being that true veteran leader that the Red Sox need off the field. Now, that being said, yes, if he's a great veteran presence, they still need more. They still need guys who are going to be able to throw and pitch well under pressure, for example, in the playoffs, guys who will not fold when the spotlight is on them, and they need guys who are going to be able to not forget all their offensive techniques when the spotlight's on them, which is why I would love to see a guy like Alex Bregman in a Red Sox uniform. So that does lead me back to my first point, which was the Red Sox will not be a deep threat in the playoffs unless they acquire one or two more veterans to couple with Trevor Story, so that he's not the only one who feels like he has to be that main veteran presence in the clubhouse. And it just takes some pressure off of him when he's focusing on having a fully healthy season and trying to bounce back as a hitter. So we have Trevor Story, but there are also some other veteran players on the team that have been removed from baseball for a bit of time due to injury. Are those guys going to step up in 2025? I'm going to be talking about that next and everything we could potentially see from them in this upcoming season. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets SelectQuote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million. No medical exam required. And it's more affordable than you'd think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedon. Go to selectquote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedon. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. You will feel a lot more secure about your life if you have a reliable health insurance policy, and SelectQuote will help you eliminate the bad options and help secure the perfect plan that works for you and the other important people in your life, so that you know that you have the coverage that you need. Because a lot of life insurance policies can be deceiving in that they aren't covering everything that you would want them to cover. So this here is to ensure that that doesn't happen. So make sure that SelectQuote is your next shop for all things related to your life insurance. Here on this edition of Locked On Red Sox, we are discussing Gabby's hot takes for 2025. And one of the biggest hot takes for me is that Trevor Story is going to have a big season this upcoming year. I'm excited to see what he can do, not only on the field, but also off the field as that veteran leader that the Red Sox need. But another player who hasn't been super talked about a lot, who is ready to have a big year in 2025, is Lucas Giolito. Now, Giolito is a guy who is also considered a veteran. He's been around the game for a while, and he has the chance to be a comeback player of the year candidate in 2025 after everything he's been through, if he is able to perform at a high level. He didn't throw a pitch in his first season after signing with the Red Sox due to that internal bracing procedure he had on his right elbow in March, but he's worked diligently during his rehab, and he was the rare player who built chemistry with his teammates while on a season-long absence from pitching. His veteran presence will be a big help to the Red Sox young rotation, because if you think about it, you have guys like Brian Bayo, Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford, guys who very much have been working to develop and have come into their own a little bit in the 2024 season, particularly guys like Houck, who has always had nasty stuff, but had trouble stretching out how many innings he was throwing. And he got stretched out and threw more innings in a season in 2024 than he had ever before in his career. So you have guys like that who are looking to blossom and are looking to continue to develop. And Garrett Crochet also, who the Red Sox just acquired, he's another young pitcher who still has a lot left in the tank and is focusing on developing that. But it's a lot of young guys in the starting rotation. And if you add in guys like Lucas Giolito and Walker Buehler, guys who have been around the game for a while and have answered the call under pressure before, that could work miles for the younger talent on this team. For example, Lucas Giolito, I mean, I went to Fenway Fest and I heard him say a lot of different things in the pitching panel that I really liked about what he's been working on this offseason and what people can expect from him in 2025. And he is expecting to have a big season. And Andrew Bailey also feels confident that he can have a big season. And one of the biggest things for me that makes me really excited about Lucas Giolito heading into this season is that I don't think anybody can deny that the work ethic is there for him. He's always been the type of player who gives 100% no matter what. And when he was pitching at his absolute best, which I don't think we'll see in 2025, but even seeing some semblance of that, I would definitely take. He was pitching at his best, but never took the foot off the gas, never got too comfortable or too complacent, and was always looking to continue to improve his game and continue to grow as a pitcher. And that's something that I think could really rub off on this Red Sox pitching staff is if things aren't going well for him, I really like his mindset and his attitude because he's very much the type of player who will say, okay, not a good performance. What do I need to do better next time? That's a quality that I look for, and I'm really excited to see Giolito apply that. And not only that, but he has had so much time to recover and so much time to really watch the Red Sox other pitchers in 2024 and to learn a lot about Andrew Bailey's strategy to where he's been able to implement that into his game during his rehab behind the scenes before Red Sox fans were able to see it. And that should help him to start off the season at a little bit more confident of a look than people might think. Because if he's been sitting there all season long in 2024 and heading into the offseason, he was observing what Andrew Bailey was doing with the other pitchers, and he was trying to see what types of things Bailey wanted to implement. For example, utilizing the off-speed pitches a lot more and cutting back on the fastball unless it is super appropriate to use at that time. Giolito could have taken mental notes on all of that to make him ready to go with his arsenal heading into 2025. Now, do I think he is going to be the star-studded starter that the Red Sox want somebody to be? No. Do I think he's going to be an ace for the team? Absolutely not. I don't think he's going to be that pitcher, but I do think he's going to be a pitcher who's going to eat innings and he's going to be reliable more often than not. Now, what does reliable look like? That's different for everybody, but reliable to me is having a quality start more often than not and being able to pitch 5 to 6 innings more often than not. And I think from the standpoint of Giolito, we can't have super high expectations for him again because of the fact that he's been removed from the game for a bit. But what I can say is that I feel like Giolito is primed and ready to be that leadership presence on the mound that Red Sox fans are looking for. So that's another hot take for me going into 2025 is that Lucas Giolito is going to have a good year. And I don't think people have really thought much about the waiting game that he's been playing. And again, I don't know that we'll ever get prime Lucas Giolito back, but what we can get is a decent pitcher who I think can give them a lot of depth in the middle of the rotation. And then you even add Walker Buehler into the mix, a guy who knows what it's like to win and has won with the Dodgers and was absolutely lights out in the postseason this past season and is ready to carry that over into this year. And he's in a contract year because he's only on a 1-year deal with the Red Sox right now. So he's going to want to have a really good season to convince the Red Sox or somebody else to sign him for 2026 and show that he's worth committing to. So pressure's on him to have a strong season this upcoming year. So yes, we can say there are risks with him because of the fact that he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries and you don't really know how a pitcher is going to be able to pitch after that. But for him, he seems really hungry and ready to go out there and give the Red Sox all that he has. And that's all we as fans can really ask for is give 100%, and 100% for Walker Buehler. I am convinced is not a bad starter. I think if Walker Buehler pitches his best in 2025, we will see a really solid number 3 starter behind Crochet and Houck, a guy who is there in the middle of the rotation and will give you good starts and will be there every 5 days to give you a start that will keep the Red Sox offense in the game. Now, again, what I am concerned about with him is just the ups and downs and him not being able to have stayed healthy, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that he can turn the page on that and be that guy that the Red Sox need him to be this upcoming season, which is a guy who can pitch reliably in the middle of the rotation. So you have these two pitchers in Lucas Giolito and Walker Buehler. Both of these guys, to me, are going to be more important to the rotation than Red Sox fans think. Both of these guys are going to have good years, and they're both going to be guys who are going to throw as best as they possibly can. And Red Sox fans are going to be looking at the rotation and saying, wow, this rotation is pretty good. So that's what I'm excited about. What they do with Cutter Crawford still is unknown and still to be determined. To me, it could make sense still to look into trading him, maybe couple him into a trade with guys like Buehler Abreu and maybe Masataka Yoshida. If they do decide to bring in Alex Bregman and move Rafael Devers to DH, then maybe you look into something like that. Or they could move Cutter Crawford to the bullpen and go with this other 5 starters that I've mentioned before. And that's the group that's starting games for the Red Sox. So there's a lot of different things that they could play around with. They could go with a 6-man rotation, which I've discussed on the show previously as well. And that leaves a lot of options. But to me, when I'm going through hot takes for this upcoming season, Lucas Giolito and Walker Buehler are both going to be really reliable for the Red Sox because both of them are penciled in as question marks right now, which is 100% understandable. And I completely see why. But those question marks will end up turning into positive value for both of those guys, not negative value. I'm really excited to see how that goes for them and the type of season that they have. Because to me, the Red Sox are in a position right now to where if all of their question marks on the roster gain positive value, they will no doubt be a contender. But that's the problem, is that just as a similar theme as what we saw the last couple seasons, there are just a lot of question marks, and we don't really know if those question marks are going to turn into positive value or negative value. And even like I talked about before with Trevor Story, another question mark, but I'm just naming question marks who I feel are going to have big seasons in 2025. And Lucas Giolito, to me, is going to be somebody who people are going to be sorry that they forgot about. And by people, I mean other baseball fans around the league, because they're going to be like, wow, this guy is so back. And he is going to be a force for the Red Sox this whole season. So I totally see that happening with him. And I'm really excited to see it happen because the Red Sox do need to get that productivity from him if they want this rotation to be taken seriously and they want to be considered one of the best teams in the American League, because that rotation has a chance to do incredible things if all of these guys are staying on the right track and are pitching at the level that the Red Sox know they can pitch at. Speaking of pitching, I have a guy who I'm very concerned about going into 2025, and I'll tell you why that is next. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. FanDuel is great in that it gives you so many opportunities to win money. Not everybody follows every sport and not everybody's comfortable betting on every sport. But what FanDuel guarantees is that you will win money if you make a parlay where you're involving multiple sports, because they will make sure that you have good odds to win a lot of those bets. So I've seen lots of people win a ton of money on FanDuel, and you could be the next FanDuel success story if you waste no more time and download the app today and use that code to sign up so that you can start making big winnings that, who knows, potentially could change your life and you could become rich off of it. Who knows? Thank me later if you do. Gabby's hot takes for 2025 have included a lot of players that I expect to have big seasons in 2025 that people may not be expecting to, and also their playoff situation as of right now if they don't make any more moves. But one player I am more concerned about going into 2025 that I don't think is being talked about enough is Liam Hendriks. I love Hendriks. I love his personality. I love his dedication to the game. And I love the fact that he's shown all of this ability to overcome numerous obstacles to get back to playing the game he loves. That is 100% the type of player that I want in a Red Sox uniform. A guy who shows resilience and doesn't give up, and a guy who is always ready for whatever challenge is thrown his way. And he does everything with the most positive and infectious energy. I love that about him. And I love that he is a player who is going to put himself in the best possible position to succeed no matter what. I love the fact that he's a veteran. He's been around the game for a while. And I love the fact that he has a great head on his shoulders. But I am a little bit concerned about his ability to get back out on the mound and be effective, because he's been away from the game for consecutive long periods of time and hasn't really had the opportunity in a while to pitch consistently. And based on his rehab so far and what he had been doing to get back to the mound, his velocity did go down significantly and he had trouble locating his pitches. He just was not getting the command that we need to see from him. And obviously there's no guarantees about that translating or not translating, but I'm a little bit concerned that it won't. I just worry a little bit that this is the pitcher that he is now, and what we're going to see from him moving forward isn't exactly what Red Sox fans would want to see, which is why I would be a little bit nervous about him being the Red Sox closer, because a closer needs to be able to go out there and be locked in that ninth inning from start to finish. And if you're bringing in your closer, that means it's a close game and you need him to not give up a lead that's tight. And are the Red Sox really in a position right now where they feel confident enough in Hendriks to where they could have him close games? That is what I'm really not sure of. And I don't necessarily feel like I would be comfortable with him getting the nod. Granted, they still have time to decide that during spring training. This is why I was really hoping that they would get a solidified closer this offseason, but they didn't. And it really worries me, them trying to experiment with having a guy who hasn't pitched in a while come in and be the closer. Surely he can be a good reliever who starts off not in high leverage situations, see how he does with that and kind of ease him into pitching in the important spots. But I don't love the idea of him being the guy who goes out there and that the Red Sox rely on to close baseball games when we really have not seen him pitch consistently in a while at a high level. So they really are going to have to see how spring training goes for him. And I really wish that they would just acquire another high leverage reliever that they can count on in those types of scenarios. Do I love Liam Hendriks? Yes. Do I like the fact that he's here? Yes. And I love that potential leadership that he also could bring to some of the younger guys on the roster. But it's just taking a big risk relying on him right from the get-go to be the guy that closes games for the Red Sox. And if that does happen, I don't see it going well. I don't think that he would be able to go out there and be effective as a closer. I think the Red Sox really need to reevaluate that if that is the direction they're leaning in, is having him go out there and close games. I just have a bad feeling about that, and I don't like the experimenting. We have seen the experimenting a lot of times with this Red Sox team. We've seen them go out there and try to throw guys into certain roles and hope that it works. I mean, we've seen it multiple times with Garrett Whitlock, where they bounced him between the bullpen and the starting rotation and hoping that that works out instead of establishing consistency with him in the pen. And we've seen guys play in spots that they don't necessarily usually play in. Even a recent one was Connor Wong playing first base in 2024 when they didn't really feel like they had another choice. I just don't love the experimenting. I'm much more of a sure thing kind of girl, which is why I said at the beginning that they need some more veteran presence on this team. So my big thing with all of this is don't make Liam Hendriks the closer, especially not right away, because I just don't see that going well for the Red Sox if they do. And if they don't decide to, who's to say they can't move him into the closing role at some point during the season? I also don't love the idea of Chapman closing games. Yes, he used to be a very effective closer, but he's been better in more of a setup role lately. So I'd rather have the Red Sox use him in that type of capacity instead of relying on him to close games. Maybe Justin Slayton becomes the closer for 2025. But either way, they need to have some consistency in the closing role. And I think that's going to end up being one of their biggest downfalls in 2025 if things go south for this Red Sox team, is not having an established closer, somebody who can go out there and effectively pitch the ninth inning consistently, because the guys that they might put in that spot seem to be question marks right now. So that's the biggest hot take that I have in regards to the pitching staff, is the closing role is still highly concerning and could be a major downfall for the Red Sox heading into 2025. Will it be? We don't know. Have to see how all of this plays out. But I really do appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. Be sure to tune in to Locked On MLB with host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, who will keep you up to date with all things going on across the league. So make sure that you check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. As I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.